Oh, Barak Yahuwah with me. Barak Yahuwah. So we send a shout out, Shabbat Shalom, to all 12 tribes of Yashar all on this Yom, and the stranger enjoined to us. Shabbat Shalom to the four corners of the earth, wherever your feet are touching the soil on this Yom. To our YouTube followers who are going to watch this later on, we say Shabbat Shalom to the elder Ak, Yehuda. Shabbat Shalom to the younger Ak, Ephraim. Shabbat Shalom to the former stranger, the former Gar, the former Goyim, the former nation, the former Gentile, who is no longer a nation or a Gar or a Goyim or nation or a Gentile or stranger, but having been engrafted into the Ba'if of Yashar through the branch, which is to say Ha-Natsah, who is Yahusha HaMashiach, whereby having been immersed in his Kadush name, whereby having been impaled with him, whereby dying with him, and whereby having been immersed with him, and having been resurrected with him to the newness of life, and whereby receiving the Ruach of adoption, whereby receiving the Ruach HaKadosh, whereby now you are no longer a stranger or a Gar or a Goyim or a nation or a Gentile, but you are now indeed a fellow citizen of Yashar all. And as a fellow citizen of Yashar all, you are now privy to the very same everlasting covenant that was made with Yashar all and with Yashar all alone. Shabbat Shalom to you worldwide, wherever your feet touch the soil, on this Baruch, Shabbat Yom. Barak Yahuwah. Barak Yahuwah. Barak Yahuwah. Oh, Abba. Barak Yahuwah. So, Ms. Parker, we continue this journey, searching for the ancient path. We've been on this ancient path now for the past 5 to 6 weeks, and it's not going to end here. It perhaps is going to go up to Sukkot, and I can foresee it. Abba taking us, continuing us on this journey, even through Sukkot, because it's just that important. It is just that important. And so for our YouTube audience who's going to listen to this later on, we're now continuing this journey, and this would be part 15, Barak Yahuwah, part 15 of searching for the ancient path, Abraham. This is searching for the ancient path. If you're taking notes, part 15, Abraham. And if you're listening via YouTube, if you're going to be listening to this later on, and you have not listened to the first 14 teachings of this, you're a little late. But if you have not listened to the first 14, then I encourage you to go back and start at the beginning, because you're going to be missing some very valuable information if you try and start right here. Because I'm not going to go over all 14 parts of all 14 teachings that Abba has previously spoken through me. So now we've been on this ancient path, Barak Yahuwah, this ancient path, this narrow path that leads to everlasting life. We've been here now for the past 5 or 6 weeks. And I think we're at a good point now, because Abba's been speaking some good things to us. He has been teaching us through the example of our righteous fathers, through Abraham and through Noach and through Methuselah and through Noach and through Canuk. And so he has given us some righteous examples to follow, to as sort of a gauge to measure ourselves against in terms of determining of whether or not we indeed are on this ancient path, and what are some of the things that we need to look at. What are some of the introspective things that we need to look at and bring before Abba to ensure that we're on this ancient path. And so no different than those examples. He wants to stop at this point now. We're going to continue here just a moment on part 15 and discussing Abraham. And it's important that we look at Abraham, because we are told to look at the example of our father Abraham. In the 51st chapter of Isaiah, YAHUAH, we are told to look at the example of our righteous father Abraham. Not only him, but we're told to look to the example of the stone, which is Yahushua HaMashiach, who walked, if you don't understand right now, he walked just like our ancient fathers. Yes, he did. In fact, he came back to renew or restore the ancient path amongst our people, because he came in a time of the time of the Pharisees. He came during the time of the Pharisees who obeyed and who taught more of the commands and doctrines of men than they did of Torah. Yes, they did. Yes, they did. And so he came back to restore the ancient path. He is the ancient path. He is the ancient of days. He is Torah. And so not by coincidence, if you now began to go back and read the Bashorah, what you are going to find out and what you're going to see is that he walked exactly like our ancient fathers walked. He walked the same path, because indeed they imitated him. They imitated him. They imitated the Ancient of Days. And so he came back to reinstitute and to draw us back to the ancient path. And so later on, as we continue through this ancient path, perhaps Yahuwah would take us to the Bashorah, and he would show us the example of our master Yahusha, and show us how his example lines up with our ancient fathers. And so with that said, let's stop here for just a moment. I don't want to say a pop quiz, because, you know, I don't want to sound like some Babylonian school teacher. But I think I would rather say, let's stop here and let's take a quick compass check. Let's take a quick compass check to see if whether or not we're going in the right direction. Because indeed, Abba's been speaking to us about this ancient path for the past 5 or 6 weeks. Now, there ought to be some fruit bearing by now. For the past 5 or 6 weeks now, he's had us on this path and showing us some things. And we should have been taking introspective looks at ourselves. And so by now, there ought to be some fruit bearing. There ought to be some fruit bearing. So now let's take a quick compass check. Now I'm going to warn you. I'm going to warn you. What's getting ready to be read is going to cut a lot. It's going to cut a lot. It should cut. If it doesn't cut, then that means that you are beyond repair. But if it cuts, that means that you are plowable. That means that you are that you have made yourself subject to correction. That you have made yourself subject to correction, to allow Abba to prune. To allow Abba to prune, and to prune something indeed is to what? Is to cut it. You have to cut something to prune it. And so when something cuts, that means that Abba is pruning us. He's cutting something off that shouldn't be there, so that why? So that we can bear more fruit. So that we can bear more fruit. So now, let's take a quick compass check. Let's take it. And I'm warning you, this is going to cut. This is going to cut. It's going to cut some. It's not going to cut all. But it is going to cut some. Turn now, Mashpaka, to Matat Yahu, Matthew chapter 7. Matat Yahu, Matthew chapter 7. Matat Yahu, Matthew chapter 7. And in reading this, I'm going to solicit your feedback. I'm going to ask you a question. And I want you to answer in the affirmative. I don't want to put words in your mouth. I want you to answer in the affirmative. I'm going to ask you a question. So let's read now from Matat Yahu, Matthew chapter 7. And we're going to start at verse 13 and read through verse 23. We're taking a quick compass check, but we're looking at the ancient path. We're looking at the ancient path, and we're looking to see if whether or not, we're checking our compass now, to ensure if whether or not, to test whether or not we are headed in the right direction. If indeed we are on the ancient path, which is what? Which is the narrow path that leads to everlasting life. So beginning at verse 13, it reads, listen, enter in through the narrow gate. Enter in through the narrow gate. This is the ancient path. This is the narrow path that leads to everlasting life. Because the gate is wide. That broad path, that Torah-less path is wide. And the way is broad. That broad path, that way is very broad. That Torah-less path is broad. Indeed, Yahuwah has spoken to us today that there are billions of people on this broad path that leads to destruction. But very few are on the narrow path, the ancient path that leads to everlasting life. It reads on, and the way is broad that leads to destruction, and there are many who enter in through it. Because the gate is narrow, listen, and the way, we understand that the way is Yalak. The way is Yalak. I'm pretty sure that the Abarit is Yalak. Somebody can correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe it's Yalak, or it may be Darak, one of the two. But the way here is indicative, or what it is alluding to is a path, is a road. It's alluding to the ancient path here, and showing us that the ancient path is narrow. And there are very few who find this ancient path. Listen, because the gate is narrow and the way is hard pressed, which leads to life. There is only one road that leads to everlasting life, and that is the ancient path, and it is very narrow. It is very narrow. There are many who think that they're on the ancient path, but in truth, they're on the broad path that leads to destruction. Yes, they are. Yes, they are. And listen here, and there are few who find it. And there are few who find it. Now he's getting ready to give us some instructions to take an introspective look at ourselves to determine if whether or not we are indeed on the ancient path. Listen here. But beware of the false Nabi'im. Not only false Nabi'im, but false teachers, false believers, false followers. This is applicable to all, not just Nabi'im, but this is applicable to the ordinary Ak or Akuf who just says, well, I'm not called to do anything. I'm just going to walk this path. This is even applicable to you. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Listen, but beware of the false Nabi'im, that is to say prophet, who come to you in sheep's clothing, but inwardly they are savage wolves. Listen here. By their fruits you shall know them. What is fruit? Fruit is obedience to Torah. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Fruit is obedience to Torah. And by extension, we determine our walk on the ancient path. Let me back up. Our walk on the ancient path is determined by what? By fruit. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. The ancient path is Torah. And so if we obey Torah, then we what? We are bearing fruit. Yes, we are. Yes, we are. We are bearing fruit. Listen here. Listen, there's no gray area here. There's no gray area here. Yahushua is getting ready to step on some people's toes. There ain't no gray area here. We cannot add to this. We cannot take away from it. We must merely read this for what it says and not take away from it and not add to it and allow it to cut us, to prune us, so that we are in alignment with it. Listen, by their fruits you shall know them. Are grapes gathered from thorn bushes? Are figs from thistles? Listen here. Listen. Now this is going to step on somebody's toes. Don't add to it. Don't take away. Listen to what it says. So every good tree yields good fruit. That's what it says. That's what it says. Don't try to twist it. Don't try and change it. So every good tree yields good fruit. If you're on the ancient path, you're a good tree and you're yielding good fruit. Listen, but a rotten tree yields wicked fruit. Yes, it does. Yes, it does. Listen here. A good tree is unable to yield wicked fruit, and a rotten tree to yield good fruit. Listen, you cannot change this. It says here that if you are on the ancient path, if you are a good tree, you can't produce bad fruit. That's what it says. That's what it says. Are you producing bad fruit? If you're producing bad fruit, you're walking contrary to the Hamashiach's words. He says that a good tree cannot produce wicked fruit. That's what it says. That's what it says. Don't try and change it. Don't try and change it. And don't block out your screen because you're squirming in your seat. It says that a good tree cannot bear wicked fruit. That's what it says. That's what it says. Now, I want your feedback. Does it say anything else? Come on, somebody tell me. Does it say anything contrarily to what was just read? Come on.
No, Elder. No, Elder. No, it doesn't.
No.
So every good tree yields good fruit, but a rotten tree yields wicked fruit. A good tree is unable. It cannot yield wicked fruit. And so those on the ancient path cannot yield wicked fruit. These are not my words. These are the words of Hamashiach. Don't squirm at me. Don't get angry with me. Get angry at the Hamashiach. Get angry at Yahuwah. These are his words. And a rotten tree to yield good fruit. A rotten tree can't yield good fruit. And neither can a good tree yield wicked fruit. Mute your mics, Ms. Parker. Mute your mics. There's some feedback. There's some feedback. Remute your mics. Listen here. Every tree that does not bear good fruit is cut down and thrown into the fire. Now he just finished saying that what? A good tree cannot bear wicked fruit. It cannot. Are you going to call him a liar? I certainly am not. I'm not going to call him a liar, and I'm not going to change his words. He says here that a good tree that cannot yield wicked fruit. In other words, a good tree does what? Obeys every word that proceeds from the mouth of Yahuwah, just like our ancient fathers did. Just like our ancient fathers did. Yes, it does. Yes, it does. And every tree that does not bear good fruit is cut down and thrown into the fire. So, by their fruits you shall know them. By their fruits you shall know them. Now, this is a good gauge, Maspaka. This is a gauge. This is a good compass for not only ourselves, but for others. But for others. The text declares that a good tree cannot bear wicked fruit. It can't. It cannot. Don't get mad at me. These are the words of the Hamashiach. And so if we come across a tree that is bearing wicked fruit and we adopt those words from Christianity, oh, this is a process. This is a journey. Oh, thank God for his GRACE. I remind you of the Hamashiach's words again. A good tree cannot bear wicked fruit. This is what it says. This is what it says. Don't get mad at me. This is what it says. So then, by their fruits you shall know them. Oh, I don't know about you, but this Baruch me. This Baruch me. It Baruch me to take an introspective look at myself, and it gave me a keener eye. A keener eye when looking at others. Yes, it does. Yes, it does. And I pray there ain't no Christians here that say, oh, he's so judgmental. He's so judgmental. You darn right I am. I have the right to judge the house of Yasha'al. The nations have nothing to do with me. We don't judge them, but we judge the house of Yasha'al with a righteous judgment. Yes, we do. Yes, we do. What do you mean, teacher, by a righteous judgment? It's a righteous judgment if you are being judged for something that I am not guilty of myself. If I am guilty of the same thing that you are guilty of, then I am a hypocrite, and that is not a righteous judgment. But if I am not guilty of that thing that you are guilty of, and judgment and right ruling comes down, this is a righteous judgment. And Abba has given me every right and authority to call it out. Yes, he has. Yes, he has. Yes, he has. So then, by their fruits, you shall know them. Not everyone. This is all in the same text. All in the same text. All of this. Not everyone who says to me, Master, Master, shall enter into the reign of the Shamayim, but he who is doing the desire of my Father in the Shamayim. What does this translate to? We're obeying every word that proceeds from his mouth. We are obeying every word that proceeds from his mouth, which translates to us being on the ancient path. Many shall say to me in that day, Master, Master, have we not Nabuah, which is to say prophesied in your name, and cast out demons in your name, and done many mighty works in your name? And then I shall declare to them, I never knew you. Depart from me, you who work lawlessness or Torahlessness, you who are walking this broad path that leads to destruction, you who have rejected the narrow way, and who have tried to twist my words when I've said to you that a good tree cannot bear wicked fruit. No, it can't. No, it can't. Stop making excuses. Stop making them. Stop making excuses. A good tree cannot bear wicked fruit. This is what it says. This is what it says. Oh, let's go somewhere else, because we understand that out of the mouth of what? Of two or more witnesses, let every matter be established. Out of the mouth of two or more witnesses, let every matter be established. Now let's look at some of the words here from one of Yahushua's taught ones. Let's hear what he has to say about this same matter. Turn to John, 1 John, Yahuchanan Aleph, 1 John, the 3rd chapter. Turn to Yahuchanan Aleph, 1 John, the 3rd chapter. Yahuchanan Aleph, 1 John, the 3rd chapter. Yahuchanan Aleph, 1 John, the 3rd chapter. Once again, I call upon you not to change his words. Don't change them. Don't try and make them fit. Do not try to make them fit your circumstance. Accept the words. Accept the words of the Hamashiach. Accept the words of his servant here, whom he is speaking through. Because they are not his servant's words, they are his words. They're Yahuwah's words. And so do not try and change them, and do not try to make them fit you. Yahuchanan Aleph, 1 John, the 3rd chapter. Let's begin at verse 2. Let's begin at verse 2, and we're going to read down to verse 24. Beginning at verse 2. Beloved ones, now we are children of Elohim, and it has not yet been revealed what we shall be. But we know that when he is revealed, we shall be like him, for we shall see him as he is. And everyone having this expectation in him cleanses himself. Cleanses himself. How do we cleanse ourselves? We obey. We obey the Torah and allow the washing of the word to cleanse us. This is how we cleanse ourselves. Walking this ancient path, not turning to the right or to the left of it, not making excuses, obeying every word that proceeds from the mouth of Yahuwah, as he is clean. Let's read this again. And everyone having this expectation in him cleanses himself, as he is clean. Everyone, listen here. Listen. Here we go. Don't try and change it. Don't try and make it fit you. Listen to what it says. Everyone doing crime also does lawlessness, and crime is lawlessness. And you know that he was manifested to take away our crimes, and in him there is no crime. Everyone staying in him, don't try and change it. Accept it. Let it cut you. Let it cut. Let it cut deep. Everyone staying in him does not commit crime. Don't try and change it. Don't try and add conjecture. Don't try and add your opinion. Don't try and change it. It says what it says. Just like the Hamashiach said, a good tree cannot bear wicked fruit. That's what he said. That's what he said. And now one of his taught ones here, And this is making a determination of whether or not we're on the ancient path. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Everyone staying in him does not commit crime. No. Everyone staying in him does not commit crime. Everyone committing crime has neither seen him nor known him. These are not my words. They're his. Little children, let no one lead you astray. The one, listen, the one doing righteousness, what is righteousness? Torah is righteousness for us when we're careful to obey it. Torah is who? Torah is Yahuwah. Who is Yahuwah? Yahuwah is the ancient path. He is Torah. And so the one doing righteousness, the one obeying the Torah, obeying the words of their father, is what? Is righteous. He considers us righteous. Yes, he does. Yes, he does. He chooses us and he considers us righteous if we are what? If we are doing righteousness. If we're walking the ancient path and not committing crime, even as he is righteous. The one doing righteousness is righteous, even as he is righteous. The one doing crime, these are not my words. These are the words of the Father. These are not my words. Don't try and change it to fit you. Don't try and change it. The one doing crime is of the devil. This is what it says. This is what it says. A good tree cannot bear wicked fruit. Everyone staying in him does not commit crime. That's what it says. We cannot change it. We cannot change it. We must simply align ourselves with it and dig deeper to walk this ancient path. Yes, we do. Yes, we do. You see, the Christian church has us twisted up. The Christian church has us thinking that perfection is not possible. Did not Yahushua himself say, be perfect, even as your Father in Shamayim is perfect? Yes, he did. Yes, he did. And so the Christian church has us making excuses. Yes, it does. Yes, it does. It has us making excuses when there are no excuses. There are none. There are no excuses. Walking this ancient path, there are no excuses. The one doing crime is of the devil, because the devil has committed crime from the beginning. I'm going to read this again. The one committing crime is of the devil. These ain't my words. They're not mine. I'm simply reading them. I am simply his messenger. I am simply his servant reading his words. Because the devil has committed crime from the beginning. For this purpose, the Son of Elohim was manifested, to destroy the works of the devil. Barak Yahuwah. Barak Yahuwah. Barak Yahuwah. How does he do this? How does he do this? Because he took crime upon himself. He took crime upon himself, and crime perished with him when he died. 2, when he was resurrected and ascended on high, he did what? He sent back his Ruach. He sent back his Ruach, and thus whom the Son sets free, whom the Son sets free is free indeed. Set free from what? Set free from crime. Because if his Ruach dwells in us, Barak Yahuwah, if his Ruach dwells in us, then we are under no more obligation to commit crime. If one commits crime with his Ruach in them, that person is purposely doing so. They're purposely doing it when they don't have to. They don't have to do it. Not with his Ruach in us. He sets us free from crime. Yes, he does. Yes, he does. Whom the Son sets free is free indeed. Yes, we are. Yes, we are. Yes, we are. You don't believe me? Let's continue reading. For this purpose, the Son of Elohim was manifested to destroy the works of the devil. Listen here. You didn't believe me. Everyone having been born of Elohim, having his Ruach in them, being born from above, does not commit crime. This is what it says. Don't try and twist it to suit you. This is what it says. Everyone having born of Elohim does not commit crime. Indeed, he's been telling us for the past 5 or 6 weeks now that we cannot walk this ancient path absent the Ruach of Yahuwah dwelling inside of us. No, we can't. No, we can't. Because when he comes inside of us, he circumcises our hearts and he writes his Torah upon our hearts, giving us a love for Torah, giving us a love for Torah, giving us a love for Torah and a willingness to obey it. And thus now we are under no more obligation to obey the sinful desires, the sinful inclination of our flesh. No, we're not. No, we're not. Stop making excuses. Stop making excuses. If you're making excuses, perhaps you're not born of Elohim. Take it for what it is and seek him. Let him cut. Let him prune. Seek him. Do not make excuses. Everyone having been born of Elohim does not commit crime because his seed, what seed? The word is the seed. Yes, indeed, the Torah is the seed. When he comes into us, he writes his Torah upon our hearts and upon our minds. Yes, he does. Yes, he does. Everyone having been born of Elohim does not commit crime because his seed stays in him. The Torah, the word, the Ruach stays in that person. And he is what? He is powerless. Powerless to commit crime. Mashpaka, we've got to quit making excuses. Yes, we do. Yes, we do. We serve a high priest. It is written, for we do not serve a Kahan Gadol, which is to say high priest, who cannot sympathize with our weaknesses, but one who in every point was tempted as we are, yet he remained without crime. So now, let us boldly go before the throne of favor during our time of need. When you're tempted, let us boldly go to the throne of favor during our time of need that we may obtain compassion. And so if he who had no sin, who walked the earth as a human being and did not commit crime, because he is who? He is Yahuwah Zadakanu. He is righteousness. He is our righteousness. If he himself dwells in us, then we have no business committing crime. No, we don't. No, we don't. If he himself, who committed no crime, who has never committed a crime, if he himself dwells in us, then we have no business committing crime. Now the question is, if you're committing crime, does he dwell in you? If you say he does, I call you a liar. I call you a liar. If you say that Abba Yahuwah dwells in you and you are committing crime, guess what? You a liar and the truth is not in you. What is truth? The Ruach of truth. It is Torah. It is Torah. Listen here. These are not my words. I'm going to read it again. Everyone having been born of Elohim does not commit crime. Oh, this is where the rubber meets the road. Abba is tired of excuses. He's tired of excuses. He's tired of lip service. This is where the rubber meets the road. This is where the determination is made if whether or not you are remnant and on the ancient path, or whether or not you are those who are walking the broad path that leads to destruction, and whether or not you are amongst the billions of those who are going to have to go through the hour of trial. Why? So that he can purge you, so that he can cleanse you, so that he can turn your wicked heart from lawlessness back to righteousness, so that he can bring you back to the ancient path. That's the question that has to be resolved right now, in this season, in the affirmative. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Oh, Abba, before I read any further, before I go any further, somebody that's listening, I know I speak this and bring this up a lot, but somebody please go for me real quickly to Revelation chapter 14. Go to Revelation chapter 14 and begin reading at verse 1, and I'll tell you when to stop. Come on, come on, come on. Somebody begin reading at Revelation 14.
And I looked and I saw a lamb standing on Mount Zion. And with him 144,000.
A remnant, a remnant, a remnant. Come on, keep reading.
Written upon their foreheads, and I heard a voice out of the Shemayim like the voice of many mighty, and like the voice of loud thunder, and I heard the sound of harpists playing their harps, and they sang a renewed song before the throne and before the four living creatures and the elders, and no one was able to learn that song except the 144,000 who were redeemed from the earth.
Who were redeemed from the earth. These are those that are kept from the hour of trial, starting in Revelation 3. These are those who are kept from the hour of trial. 144,000 that were named in Revelation 7 and then revealed here in Revelation 14. Continue, please.
They are those who were not defiled with women, for they are maidens.
Come on.
They are those following the Lamb wherever he leads them to go.
Say that again.
They are those following the Lamb wherever he leads them.
One more time.
They are those following the Lamb, wherever he leads them on.
A good tree cannot produce wicked fruit. These are those who did not turn to the right or to the left. No falsehood was found in their mouths. They followed the ancient path wherever it led them. And they did not make excuses. They followed the Torah, the ancient path, wherever it led them. Keep reading.
They were redeemed from among men, being first fruits to Yahuwah and to the Lamb. And in their mouths was found no falsehood. And in their mouth was found no falsehood. They are blameless before the throne of Yahuwah.
Barak Yahuwah, you can stop there. In their mouths was found no falsehood, no untruth. Whatever their mouth spoke, whatever their lips spoke was Torah, was truth. There was no falsehood found in them. I call your attention to the Hamashiach's words again. A good tree cannot produce wicked fruit. And everyone born of Elohim does not commit crime. Don't try and change it to suit you. We've done too much of that. Christian church has messed us up. We've done too much of that. Do not try and change his words. It says what it says. Yes, it does. Yes, it does. I'm going to read that again. Everyone having been born of Elohim does not commit crime, because his seed, his Torah, his truth stays in him. And he is powerless to commit crime because he has been born of Elohim. In this, the children of Elohim and the children of the devil are manifest. Everyone doing righteousness is everyone not doing righteousness. Everyone not practicing righteousness is not of Elohim. Everyone not practicing righteousness is not of Elohim. Quit making excuses. Quit saying, oh, I had a bad day. Oh, I had a bad day today. Oh, I had a bad day today. Sure, Abba allows us to come before him and confess and repent. But Abba wants us to be perfect as he is perfect. If you want to be remnant, he is calling us to be what? Perfect as he is perfect. Yes, he is. Yes, he is. Everyone not doing righteousness is not of Elohim. Neither the one not loving his brother. Indeed, there are some not loving me because of the words that Abba speaks through me. Yes, there is. Yes, there is. I'm not naive. There are some that not loving me. There are some that have bitterness in their hearts towards me. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. There are some that got bitterness in their hearts towards me because I'm a servant of truth and I don't speak no falsehood. And if you're a servant of truth, you have very few friends. Your circle is more like a dot than a circle because people cannot stand the truth. I know there's some that have bitterness in their hearts towards me. But listen here. Neither the one not loving his brother. Let me read that again. Everyone not doing righteousness is not of Elohim. No. Everyone not walking this ancient path and obeying every word that proceeds from the mouth of Abba is not of Elohim. Neither the one not loving his brother. Because this is the message that you heard from the beginning. That we should love one another. Not as Cain. Not as Cain, who snuck up behind his brother and hit him in the head with a staff. And then began to beat him with that staff. And when his brother, righteous Habal, cried out to him and said, brother, please don't beat me to death like that. Please don't let me suffer. Just go ahead and do it quickly. Then wicked Cain then proceeded to pick up a stone and bash his brains out. Indeed, we don't have to physically bash someone's brains out to murder them. No, we don't. Listen to what it says here. Who was of the wicked one? Cain. And those who walk in a similar manner are of the wicked one, or of the devil, who walk this broad path that leads to destruction and make excuses for themselves. Who was of the wicked one and killed his brother. And why did he kill him? Because his works were wicked, but those of his brother were righteous. Because those of his brother were righteous. Indeed, those who are born of the flesh, what do? They persecute them who are born of the Ruach. Yes, they do. Yes, they do. As Ishmael persecuted Ishkak, as the one born according to the flesh persecuted the one born according to the Ruach, so are we. So are we persecuted. So are the ones who are born according to the flesh still persecute them who are born according to the Ruach, because they don't understand them, because we are peculiar, we are strange, we are not of this world, and they persecute us. Yes, they do. Yes, they do. In the same way that they persecuted the righteous Nabiyin, the righteous prophets, and in the same way they persecuted Yahushua himself, who was not from this world, because he was righteous, because he was born from above and not below. But those who were born from below, who did not understand him, because he wasn't from this world, they did what? They persecuted him. They were children of Cain. They were children of the wicked one. Do not marvel, my brothers. Actually, let me go back. And why did he kill him? Because his works were wicked, but those of his brother were righteous. He followed the ancient path. Yes, he did. Yes, he did. Habal was righteous. He followed the ancient path. Yes, he did. Yes, he did. He followed it. He obeyed his father. Yes, he did. Yes, he did. Do not marvel, my brothers, if the world hates you. We know that we have passed out of death into life. Yes, we have. Yes, we have. If you've died with him, if you've been impaled with him, and you've died with him, and you've been buried with him and resurrected to him, with him, and his Ruach has come to dwell inside of you, then we have what? We have passed out of death into life. Yes, we have. Yes, we have. And if we have died to crime, then we have no more excuses to give in to crime. No, we don't. No, we don't. How can we continue to operate in crime when we have died to crime? Provided that you have died to crime. Provided that you have died to crime. And if you do not have his Ruach in you, you have not died to crime. No, you haven't. No, you haven't. You're still a seed of the wicked one. Yes, you are. Yes, you are. Adam, my father, sold this wicked flesh to Hashatan, and he owns it. He owns it. He is par'ah. He is the par'ah of Masra'im. And he owns this flesh, which is bondage, which is slavery. Yes, he does. And the only way out of his grips is to be born from above. And so as long as we are operating in according to the flesh, we are seed of the wicked one. We are seed of Cain. Yes, we are. Yes, we are. Reading here again. We know that we have passed out of death into life because we love the brothers. Because we love the brothers. The one not loving his brother stays in death. The one not loving his brother stays in death. Everyone hating his brother is a murderer. I told you didn't have to bash his brains in. No, you don't. No, you don't. Everyone hating his brother is a murderer. And you know that no murderer has everlasting life staying in him. So go ahead. Continue to hate me because I'm a messenger of truth. Continue to hate me and harbor bitterness in your heart. Go ahead. All you're doing is showing your wicked, rotten fruit that you don't belong to Yahuwah. That's all you're doing. That's all you're doing. And you're a murderer. And no murderer has everlasting life staying in him. By this we have known love, because he laid down his life for us. And we ought to lay down our lives for our brothers. We can lay down our lives in many ways. Yes, we can. Yes, we can. It doesn't have to be a physical death. We can give up everything. We can give up everything to lay down our lives for our brothers. Yes, we can. Yes, we can. And unless one gives up all, guess what? He cannot be his taught ones. That's what it says. Don't try and twist it. Don't try and change it. Don't try and make it suit you. Unless we give up all, we cannot be his taught ones. And we're on the wrong path. We're not on the ancient path. The ones who walk the ancient path are willing to give up all. Yes, they are. Yes, they are. But whoever has this world's goods and sees his brother in need and shuts up his tender affections from him, how does the love of Elohim stay in him? We've read about our father Abraham, how he planted that grove with 4 different directions in it. That grove of grapes with 4 different directions in it. So that if a stranger came near him, he had to enter that grove in one of those directions. He had to enter. And when he entered, what did Abraham do? What? Oh, Abba. Mute your mics, my spot. Mute your mics.